Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Vishwaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti Shanti Shantyam Namaste. Welcome to our Drsya. Do we have any questions to begin with? Okay. We begin from the verse 36, rightly. It is because of the fallacious presentation of consciousness located in the Buddhi, performs various actions and enjoys the results. The Jiva, the entity called Jiva, therefore comes about. It's because of the fallacious presentation. It's because the fallacious presentation of consciousness located in the Buddha performs various actions and enjoys results. Therefore, it is called Jiva. Okay, and all these consisting of the elements and their products, which are of the nature of the objects of enjoyment, is called Jagat. Yeah? So here, Drsya presents the concept of Jiva and Jagata. What is the, I did not look into the dictionary, fallacious. What is the meaning of this word there in this sentence?
It just means false.
Okay. Okie dokie. It's because of the apparently real presentation of reflected consciousness. The entity Jiva comes into place and do actions to enjoy their results. And all these consisting of the elements and their products, which are the nature of the objects of enjoyment, is called Jagata. So he does make a short introduction of Jiva and Jagata. And it says that it's all the elements. So the Jagata is made out of the elements, but not only Jagata, but Jiva is also made out of the elements. The elements and their products. The products are the inert beings and the sentient beings. Everything is a byproduct of the primordial elements, the basic elements. Okay, I think I'm confused again. Oh my God, I'm so often confused. Which is the verse? Which is the verse today?
I do think it's 36. Anyone disagree?
Yes, 36. It's correct.
And Arlindo, I looked up fallacious and it has a better meaning than I gave you, because it says based on a mistaken belief, which is a
mistaken belief.
Sure meaning of that.
Yeah, an error.
Right.
Okay, so we are on the 36. And then Swamiji says that I, the Paramartika Jiva, have forgotten my nature and I have come to this universe as the Vyavarika Jiva, the entity, to experience the physical material world, which is all made out of the elements. This universe, he goes on to say that this universe is my own projection, and it's my macro dream, or my own bigger dream. It is a Vyavaharika dream. Okay, so it's talking that the universe is my own, and of course, it must be talking of Paramarthika Jiva, of course, the concept of the macro. This universe is my own projection. It's my bigger dream, a Vyavaharika dream. Yeah. Okay. A Vyavaharika dream because it appears to be objective, an objective reality, but from the standpoint of the Jiva Atma. So this universe is my own projection, the projection of Brahman, of Paramarthika Jiva, in association with Maya. It is my bigger dream. It's the macro dream. It is a Vyavaharika dream. So it's interesting. He does not say it's a Pratibhatika, because the Pratibhatika, it is a projection which refers to Jiva's projection. So it says that Vyavaharika is physical, material universe that is my dream. I as Brahman. The confused Vyavaharika Jiva, so we have a Vyavaharika dream, a Vyavaharika Satyam, apparent universe, and the confused Vyavaharika Jiva is none other than consciousness reflected in the subtle body. This Jiva is the doer in the body-mind complex. This Jiva is the sense of doership, ownership, in the body-mind complex. And due to various actions performed, it gathers punya papam, the results of those actions. The doer Jiva becomes an experiencer, the experiencer Jiva. It does for the sake of experiencing. So this continued dream experience cannot be stopped except by self-knowledge. As long as I refuse to wake up but keep doing a variety of actions, the cycle of action and the results of actions which are experienced will continue. For the Jiva's experience of pleasure and pain, the universe is the field consisting of the 5 elements and their products. The universe, the Jiva's body, and reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa, are all within the dream of the Paramarthika Jiva. And that Jiva has chosen to identify with Chidabhasa, which is its inferior nature, version. So, very clear, I think it is self-explained, the universe, the Jiva's body. So we have the Jiva body, and then we have the reflect consciousness, which is the human consciousness, the Chidabhasa, what in truth characterizes the Jiva. Now we have the physical material universe, which is made of the elements, and then we have the Jiva's body, which is made out of the elements as well. But within the Jiva's body-mind complex, we have the human consciousness, Chidabhasa. Everything is within the dream of whom? Of Paramarthika Jiva. Paramarthika Jiva. And that Jiva has chosen to identify with the human consciousness. So it's, he has used the word chosen. The Jiva has chosen to identify with the human consciousness, which is its inferior nature, okay? The superior nature is original consciousness. But it's hard to believe that the Jiva chooses it, because if you ask anybody on the streets, especially Yuma being there in Tiruvannamalai, a lot of spiritual people ask them if they have decided to identify with the mind. Yeah. So they are going to look at you and say, you are crazy. What are you talking about? You know? And even those who have a certain understanding of what we are talking about, they probably would say, no, I have not decided. I was bound to identify with the body-mind complex. Huh? So somehow this ignorance, it's very powerful, and it makes the jiva, yeah, to be compelled by nature to identify with the mind and with the physical body. Yeah? But he mentioned here a word, chosen to identify.
Yeah.
You're going to say something?
Mm-mm. No.
Because it is an unconscious process, the process of death and rebirth. It is an unconscious process because, as we know, the system belongs to Ishvara. Nobody has the power to decide, I'm going to be born and I want to be born under certain circumstance, and that's what I wish and I demand. You know, we know Jiva has no saying. Ishvara, the big system, is going to bring it about, and so that Jiva does not break, does not disturb Ishvara. So Ishvara keeps the Jiva unconscious, of course, and then he says, okay, I will take care of it, and then I'm going to bring you a new birth, and you're going to be as ignorant as anybody else, and you're going to be identified with your inferior nature. So I can't imagine any conscious decision on the realm of the light. Some people have these ideas that, oh, I have chosen to be here, I have chosen to be living under my family and to have this experience. It sounds good because ultimately it is true, but we don't choose, the system chooses, you understand?
Hey, no fighting.
Huh?
Hey, last week, Arvindo, didn't we describe the Paramatica Jiva as somebody who's absolutely convinced that they were absolute awareness, somebody who knew the truth? And if that's the case, the Paramatica Jiva wouldn't have chosen to identify with the reflected consciousness, surely.
Yes. But the Paramatica Jiva choose to identify. Where am I?
The last sentence.
Oh, okay. Let me see here. The universe, the Jiva's body, and Chidabhasa are all within the dream of Paramatica Jiva. And that Jiva, you are right, it's referring to that Paramatica Jiva has chosen to identify with Chidabhasa. Thank you. That makes sense now. That Paramatica Jiva has chosen to identify with Chidabhasa. I thought he was talk about the Pratibhasika, the Vyavaharika Jiva. No, he was referring to the Paramartika Jiva. Is that correct, Mark?
Well, isn't a Paramatica Jiva a yoni?
Well,
That's my question.
no.
And if that's the case, why would he choose?
Yeah, this Paramartika Jiva is said to be Brahman. And here and there we hear this concept that Brahman somehow decide to manifest as Jivas. And in order to manifest as Jiva, it goes through a process of grossification and it loses its self-knowledge to become a Jiva. As we know, Brahman does not choose, Brahman does not have karma, Brahman does not have desire. We know our fundamental nature, we don't have any of that. We are beyond cause and effect and karma and actions and its results. So Paramatika Jiva is Brahman. And then it says, the scripture says, as if it has chosen to to appear as the Jiva, and then as if it has chosen to identify with its inferior nature, and then search for liberation. Okay, everything is Brahman. Brahman, which is consciousness, appears as human consciousness. It's almost as if it has made a conscious choice. So it's all depends on the angle, the context, what the scripture is trying to point us to. But remains the fact that that Brahman or Paramartika Jiva, because Paramartika Jiva is a very contradictory concept as it's appearing here, you know. If Paramartika Jiva is Brahman, okay, so why Brahman would choose, you know, to appear as the Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika Jiva? No, it's Paramartika Jiva appears as Vyavaharika Jiva, but this Paramartika Jiva is not really the best pointer for the word, for the concept of Brahman. You know, this Paramartika Jiva, as you were saying, is a Vyavaharika Jiva with self-knowledge. Okay, so from the standpoint of the Vyavaharika Jiva with self-knowledge, it did not choose anything. Okay, or much less, and not even as an apparent choice. Okay, so the only thing at his disposal is the ability to know that he is Brahman, he is limitless conscious existence. And then the question of choosing to identify with Chidabhasa is out of question. So that does not make sense. The only idea that makes sense here in terms of this principle to choose to identify with, reflect human consciousness and become a Jiva, is if we remove or we change the word Paramartika Jiva with Brahman, as if Brahman or consciousness would have chosen to identify with the Jivas, you know. Are we following? Anything else from you? Let's try to be on the same page here, because
Arlindo, could you look at the verb in this sentence, chosen, as Paramartika Jiva's Avarana Shakti? It's like a energy.
no, Paramartika Jiva, no, I wouldn't equate it to Avarana Shakti. Okay, so Avarana Shakti translates into the Jiva as Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Okay, so this.
I'm sorry. I thought Avarana was just Tamaguna, so I'm mistaken there then.
Yeah, so it's these are the powers, the supposed powers of Maya that allows Ishwara to project, and in order to project, it needs energy, and then in order to configure the elements, it needs to grossify that energy, and as it seems in the process of grossification, the Vyavaharika Jiva, it loses its full conscious potential or knowledge potential, you know. There is tamaguna they're operating. So the question here, going back, is as if we are still in the 36. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, the universe, the Jiva's body, okay, the Jiva's body and the reflect consciousness are all within the dream of Brahman, which is present here. Now it is equating Brahman with Paramartika Jiva. If before we are giving a meaning to Paramartika Jiva as a Jiva who knows he is Paramartha, you understand? So now even a Jiva who knows he is Paramartha, he cannot dream this universe we've seen the dream, okay, but he has the knowledge of its fundamental nature, which is the source from which this appearing dream appears to come. So Chidabhasa, all of these three principles are within Brahman, and the Jiva has chosen, the Paramarthika Jiva has chosen, Brahman has chosen to identify with the Chidabhasa, okay? So it's more or less on those lines to me. The only way to make a better sense is to understand on those lines. The universe, Jagata, the Jivas, bodies, and Chidabhasa, which is the reflect consciousness, which is the human consciousness. So we have this principle, the physical body, and the consciousness, human consciousness, and the universe through which it somehow it interacts and learns, are always seeing the dream of Brahman. And that Jiva has chosen to identify with Chidabhasa. So it is a little bit confusing that Jiva most probably refers to Paramarthika Jiva, and therefore it is a little bit more difficult to make sense of the notion or the concept that Paramarthika Jiva is projecting the universe, the body of the Jiva, and the human consciousness. So the Paramarthika Jiva, sometimes we see as equated to Brahman, but we can say that Paramarthika is not really Paramartha, because he is Paramarthika Jiva. So it's a Jiva who knows that I am a Paramartha, I am Brahman. So everything is within consciousness, which is another name for Brahman. And that Jiva has chosen to identify with the body-mind complex or with the human consciousness, which is its inferior nature or version, okay? So it's not very much elaborated. And I'm trying to make sense of this sentence. And from the beginning, I was confused about this choice of identify, because this is a power. It's a power of Maya, due to Avarana and Vikshepa, and they play a role in the reflected consciousness, because they play a role in the reflecting medium, and makes it so that the Vyavaharika Jiva has a hard time to understand what's going on, much less understanding what is your true nature. And so this Jiva, this Jiva has chosen to identify is the part that popped up for me as not make much sense here, okay? But anyhow, we understand the overall concept that Brahman appears as choosing to become a Jiva that could somehow resolve a little bit of this lack of elaboration. And then the Paramarthika Jiva as the one who projects this universe, Jagata, Jiva, and Chidabhasa, it is Brahman. It's not really a Jiva with the knowledge I am Paramarthika, or I am Brahman, or Paramartha. Okay, can we move on? Are you with me, Mark and Lynn? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can move on. When I see Swami Paramahansa, I'll ask him about the sex.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you have an opportunity to meet him and present your question. So it is his text. It is his commentary, I believe. And and then you let us know. Verse 37. These two, dating from tiem without beginning, date from time without beginning, beginningless. These two, dating. So these two refers to what? To Jiva and Jagata. Because in this analysis here, I don't know if you note, they have left Ishwara out of the question. They are analyzing the Jiva in its Vyavaharika nature, Pratibhasika nature, and Paramatika nature. It's all about Jiva here, so there is no Ishvara. So these two, the Pratibhasika Jiva and the universe, I believe, they date from beginningless time. And they only have experiential existence, empirical existence, and will exist only, and it exists until one obtains self-knowledge and liberation. So again, so it's not going to make the Jiva disappear, it's not going to make Jagata disappear, and it's not going to make human consciousness from disappearing. What is going to disappear? The end of the existence of these two entities, Jiva, Jagata, comes with self-knowledge, which is the understanding that this is an apparent reality. I, myself, the Jiva, and Jagata, we are just appearance with seeing that which is my conscious existence. Therefore, both are called empirical. Here, the author gives a reason why Awaker Jiva, now he's calling the Awaker Jiva, it's called the Vyavaharika Jiva. So this Vyavaharika Jiva, which is being also referred here as the Chidabhasa, it depends on the physical body, but the physical body is hooked up with this subtle body. And within the subtle body, we have the Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. So this Vyavaharika Jiva, which is being equated to the Chidabhasa, is involved in all the transactions. The Paramartika Jiva is beyond all transactions, similar to the awaker being not involved in any of the dream transaction. Now he makes this parallel between the awaker, which is not involved with the transactions of our dreamer entity, Likewise, the Paramartika Jiva is not involved in the transactions of the Vyavaharika Jiva. So what is this Paramartika Jiva? Is this subject witnessing conscious principle, non-experiencing entity, which witness the Vyavaharika Jiva transacting in the Vyavaharika world, in Jagata, okay? So the Paramartika Jiva is beyond transaction. This Paramartika Jiva is consciousness. He is a Jiva who knows his consciousness, although his Vyavaharika Jiva is transacting, there is a sense of witnessing objectively Jiva and Jagata, okay, without being deceived by this apparent reality, okay? So the Paramartika Jiva is not really caught up into all the transactions. The same way that a waker is not really caught up with the dream of the dreamer, it never gets identified or involved. The beginning of the awaker Jiva and the awakening universe is in which the transactions are going on cannot be known, just like the beginning of a dream cannot be ascertained. Okay. So the beginning of the awaker Jiva and the universe, we will never know. We will never know the beginning of this universe, the universe we may be able, but as we know, creation is beginningless. Therefore, Jiva Jagata, and we can throw right now Ishvara in there, as we often see the statements of the scriptures, Jiva Jagat, Ishvara Jiva Jagat, they are beginningless. Beginningless means to say, and they never end, okay, with a small exception. But the universe is there either in its full manifest potential, manifestation as what we see, what we live in and observe, or it will exist as the seeds or the potential of the macrocosmic or microcosmic and macrocosmic causal body. Okay, so everything is eternally there without beginning, the same way that a seed of a tree was there forever together with the tree. So because there is no beginning of the tree with the seed, and there is no beginning of the seed with the tree, it's cyclical. So the macrocosm causal and the subtle, and then the physical exists eternally, cyclically, the same way the seed and the tree. So this, they go on and cannot be known. The beginning cannot be known, just like the beginning of a dream cannot be ascertained. So when we have a dream, and we have a hard time to know for sure where and when it began. Even the dreamer cannot say for certain when the dream started. For the dreamer to do that, he must be the knower of the awaker, which he is not. So he will have to be the awaker to know when the dream begins. But the funniest thing about dreaming is that in order for the dreamer appear, the awaker has to disappear. So you cannot have both at the same time, so that the awaker says, okay, now I see the dreamer is showing up here. And then, not to say that according to the scriptures, first there is a sleep. The sleep is always there between awakened state and dream state. So the moment that you go into sleep, there is nobody home to see the beginning of the dream. And then the dream begins, and then we're going to say, oh, okay. So now maybe I came too late to the movie here. I want to know the story, the beginning of the story. There is no way, okay? Because you need to be awaker. And the awaker is never there simultaneously with the dreamer. The awaker cannot say when the dream starts, because for him the dream does not even exist from beginningless time. This Vyavaharika Jiva and the Vyavaharika universe continue to exist in transaction. So it's there so that we can transact. The Jiva, the agent who transacts in Jagata, the universe, Vyavaharika universe. Can this dream of transaction end? So again, here he presents the universe, the cosmos, the Jagata, as a stage on which the Jiva entity can transact for some purpose. So it has no beginning. So, and then he says, the waker cannot say No. Can this dream of transaction end? So he established there is no beginning, and then now he's going to establish that there isn't end, although there is an end. There is an end from the standpoint of the individual soul, because the scripture says that with self-knowledge and with liberation, there is no reason for this Jiva to come back to enjoy more transaction. Okay, transaction remains irrelevant for the Jivan Mukta. So it continues for all souls unless it comes to the spiritual awakening. The Vyavaharika Jiva continues the transaction, and therefore this Jiva is called Vyavaharika Jiva. So the awakening, the spiritual awakening, is an awakening that does not destroy the Jiva, but gives the Jiva the status of Vyavaharika Jiva. And this Vyavaharika Jiva is going to continue transacting with Jagata. And but it's called Vyavaharika Jiva, okay? And this Vyavaharika Jiva is putting an end on further incarnations according to our scriptures, okay? So, and then if this soul, this Jiva, with the knowledge in respect to its, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit tired today, but I'm mixing up Paramartika Jiva, Vyavaharika Jiva, until spiritual awakening. The Vyavaharika Jiva continues the transaction and therefore this Jiva is called Vyavaharika Jiva. I read before Paramarthika Jiva. Now, it did not woke up yet. Until it wakes up, it is called Vyavaharika Jiva. The dream example is the best way to explain this unbelievable state of affairs. The awaker projects the dream body-mind, and the dream world enters into it, forgets his higher nature, and enters into dream transactions and experience the results thereof. Learning from this example that happens every night, we can understand that the waking experience is also another kind of dream. The author deals with this topic in the next few verses. Great. So I think that our question in regards to the previous verse is already beginning to be cleared. The awaker projects the dream body. So we know that we go to bed and then we project a dream body in the dream universe. We enter in that. We forgot that we are the awaker. And then we do the transactions and we experience the actions and its results. Learning from this example that happens every night, we can make a parallel to say that the Vyavaharika Jiva somehow projects its world. Let's go there. I don't want to speculate here. Let's see what it says in the next verse, because it says the author deals with this topic in the next few verses. Sleep, said to be associated with consciousness, wrongly presented in the mind, and of the nature of concealment and projection, at first covers the empirical individual self and the cognized universe, but then imagine them in a dream. Okay. So it says that the awaker is falling asleep, said to be associated. And then the awaker goes and then wants to sleep, needs to sleep, falls asleep, and says this awaker is properly associated with consciousness because it is enjoying reflect consciousness. But once it goes into sleep, it's said to be associated with consciousness in a wrong manner, wrongly presented in the mind, and of the nature of concealment and projection that first covers the individual mind. So let's talk about the phenomena of human consciousness is there and then gets tired, goes to sleep, and then somehow it loses its reflect consciousness, its conscious consciousness, you know. So, and then he puts here, associate with consciousness, wrongly presented. So the mind is in deep sleep. In deep sleep, there is no reflection, there is no aham, there is nothing, okay? And then everything is suppressed there. There is concealment, but there is potential for dream, for projection. So this concealment power, you know, which is a varana, tamaguna, covers the self of this awaker, you know, the awaker who entered in the sleep, and then the self, the aham, was covered, concealed, okay? And the cognized universe. So the awaker got there, and then his aham was vanished, the universe vanished, and it says that his association with consciousness is somehow wrong, you know, and or not really available. But then what happens? The other power, which is not the concealing, but the projection power is going to imagine the dream world, okay? But then imagines the dream afresh. And then he's going to the them there is going to be what? The dreamer and the universe, the dream world. Okay. So this awaker, and he falls asleep, and then his association with consciousness is somewhat not functional or wrong. And then it's under the powers of Maya, which is concealing and projecting. And then it first, the concealing power pushes us into deep sleep and then hides the self, the aham, from the jiva, and hides as well the universe. So the duality, the experiencer and the experience, the dream experiencer and the dream experience is not there. The experience of the awaker experiencer and the awaker universe, both are not there. That's what he say. But then out of a sudden, it imagines the dreaming entity and the dream world afresh. Okay? Let's see what Swamiji says. Sleep said to be associated with consciousness, wrong, present the mind. Okay. 38. From this 32nd verse, the author is summarizing the Vedanta teaching given in the 31st verse 1. Again, in a different language, by introducing three jivas, because he's doing he's starting a new class here, doing some summary here. So he's explaining how the previous verse has introduced the concept of these three jivas that can be confusing at times. Paramarthika jiva, Vyavarika jiva, and Pratibhasika jiva. He also introduced two fields of experience. Paramarthika jiva does not have a field of experience. Okay. But we have to make a distinction. Paramarthika jiva is not pranya jiva. Pranya jiva does not have a field of experience. But pranya jiva here is ignored because here we are analyzing jiva and its experiences. Okay, so we have two jivas having experience of two worlds, the physical material and the dream world, and we have paramarthika jiva not experiencing anything. So he introduced, therefore, two fields of experience, one for the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is the Vyavaharika Jagata, and the other for the Pratibhasika Jiva, which is the Pratibhasika Jagata, the dream world. Vyavaharika Jiva is associated with Vyavaharika Jagata. Pratibhasika Jiva is associated with Pratibhasika Jagata. Paramarthika Jiva is not associated with any field of experience, as we have already established. The Vyavaharika Jiva and Vyavaharika Jagata are available in the awakened state. Pratibhasika Jiva and the Pratibhasika Jagata are available in the dream state. The Paramarthika Jiva is the original consciousness, whereas the Vyavaharika Jiva and the Pratibhasika Jiva are reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa. Vyavaharika Jiva is the Vyavaharika Chidabhasa. Now he's saying that the Vyavaharika Jiva is the Chidabhasa associated with the awaker. Okay. So the Vyavaharika Jiva, that's sometimes we saw he equating Vyavaharika Jiva with Chidabhasa. Now he explains the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is the Jiva in the awakened state, is associated with what? With reflected consciousness. Without reflected consciousness, there is no way for him to experience the Vyavaharika Jagata. Now, the human consciousness has to be there. Therefore, he said, Vyavaharika Jiva is the Vyavaharika Chidabhasa. It represents another term. It's called now Vyavaharika Chidabhasa, okay? Before we haven't seen that. So basically, Vyavaharika Jiva, to avoid confusion, is associated with reflect consciousness, and it does so with the awakened body, experience the awakening state in the awakened universe in the awakened state. So what we're saying is that there is no Vyavaharika Jiva, which is grossly represented as the physical body. There is no Vyavaharika Jiva experience the physical universe without the Pratibhasika Jiva, meaning to say without the mind, without the Chidabhasa, the human consciousness. It is the body-mind construct that experience the Vyavaharika universe, okay? But for representation, we say that it is the physical body interacting with the physical universe. But this physical body, without the subtle body, without reflected consciousness, without the human consciousness, cannot interact with anything, okay? And this Vyavaharika Jiva that was said to be Vyavaharika Chidabhasa associate with the awakened body. Awakened body, we know, is the physical body, is experiencing the awake universe, the physical material universe in a certain state called the awakened state. Pratibhasika Jiva is the Pratibhasika Chidabhasa associated with the dream body experiencing the dream universe. Okay, now the Pratibhasika Jiva is going to experience the Pratibhasika Satya, the world of dream, the dream world, okay? But this Pratibhasika Jiva is still associated with Chidabhasa because it is a reflected consciousness, you understand? You need to have a human consciousness. A human consciousness may reflect, outwardly to see the world, or it may reflect inwardly to shed light into its mental, emotional impressions, the vasanas, okay? So in both cases, we need a certain reflectivity. We need a reflected consciousness, a human consciousness in two states, okay? But in the case of Paramarthika Jiva, there is no association with reflected consciousness or human consciousness as a principle, but let's see how he's going to present Paramarthika Jiva in this context. The author says that I, the Paramarthika Jiva, am the one projecting the Vyavaharika Jiva, the Jagata, space and time. Since both are my own projections, both of them are like dream only. The power that I have to project the Vyavaharika Jiva and the Vyavaharika Jagata is called Maya. Okay, we go back to Maya, Maya Shakti, and Maya Shakti is the power inherent to Brahman, although it's not really part of Brahman, because Maya Shakti is already within Mithya, and Brahman is just Satya, the only real thing. Okay, so I now identify with Vyavaharika Jiva, and I, Pratibhasika, I, Paramarthika Jiva, forget my Paramarthika nature. This is mistake. One mistake. The second mistake, this is the mistake number one. The second mistake is as follows. The Vyavaharika Jiva, I, projects the Pratibhasika Jiva. Now I talk about the projection of the awaker, that which projects the awakening, the dreaming entity and the dream world. This Vyavaharika Jiva projects, the second mistake, projects the Pratibhasika Jiva and Jagata with the help of the individual Nidra Shakti, the power referred as Jiva Nidra Shakti, which allows the dream world to emerge. And likewise, the dreamer identifies with the pratibhasika jiva, with the dreamer, okay? The body of the dreamer, the subtle body, and with the dream world, the dream state, the dream world, everything. Then the pratibhasika jiva forgets his higher nature due to the concealing power of Nidra Shakti. There is a concealing power because all these Shaktis, they are fundamentally based on Avarana and Vikshepa, or in other words, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. The concealing power of Nidra Shakti and takes the project dream to be real and experience the consequence of that mistake. So when we take a dream to be real, we're going to interact with the dream world and take the consequence. The dream's effects can be solved by waking up. If the waker's world, which is really a projection, disturbs the waker needs to wake up. Okay. If the waker world, which is which is really a projection, disturbs the waker needs to wake up. The first waking up is to get out of the dream samsara. The second waking up is to get out of the awakened samsara. That is referred in the Mandukya Karika. So there is a good self-explanation here, but it remains still a little bit like the concept of pratibhasika jiva, of paramarthika jiva, because the paramarthika jiva, he was presented as not associated with the physical body, not associated with the subtle body, and not associated with neither the dream world or the physical material world, okay? But as we understand, the moment that there is a jiva being attached to the paramartha, okay, paramarthika jiva, the moment that we attach jiva to paramarthika, we have to understand that there must be some human consciousness there, otherwise we would not find that as a paramarthika jiva. Paramarthika jiva means paramartha appearing as a jiva and having the knowledge of its true nature. But who and how this paramarthika jiva is going to have this self-knowledge? By the means of human consciousness. So it's difficult to say that the paramarthika jiva within this context is not associated with human consciousness, because you need human consciousness to know that I am that Brahman. That's the only thing I would talk with Swami Paramarthananda if I would have the pleasure of such an opportunity. Anything from you guys? Having been ignorant of Turiya due to beginningless Maya, when the Jiva awakens, then he knows the non-dual self, which is unborn, dreamless, and sleepless, okay? So there's Turiya, which is unborn, wakerless, dreamless, and sleepless. It's beyond the three states. This is a quote from the Mandukya Karika. Of these three jivas, the author has talked about paramarthika jiva in verses 32, 33, and 34, and the vyavaharika jiva in the last three verses. Now, the verse 38, the pratibhasika jiva is being described. The paramarthika jiva projects the vyavaharika jiva, and the vyavaharika jiva projects the pratibhasika jiva. We come from Brahman, paramarthika jiva, and then there is a projection with the power of Maya, which brings about the jiva and the dreamer, the Jiva in both states, as the awaker and the dreamer, projects both. In the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is the consciousness reflected in the body-mind complex of the awaker, okay? So Vyavaharika Jiva, which is consciousness, reflect. It's not only on the body, because the body does not offer any reflectivity. The subtle body does so, the mind does so. So in the Vyavaharika Jiva, which is the consciousness reflect in the awaker's body-mind complex, there is a power called Nidra Shakti. This power is very similar to Maya Shakti and has the projecting and the concealing capacities. Okay, I did not want to say anything at the very bottom of it. It's one Maya Shakti operating in the macrocosm and the microcosm. Everything comes from Maya. So we have this Nidra Shakti creates a new dream. Why I'm saying that? Because I mean, have you ever tried to say, okay, now I know I have this Nidra Shakti and I'm going to project a nice dream tonight. We don't know how to do that. Maya Ishvara does that. Okay, everything here belongs to them. With these powers of projection and concealment, the Nidra Shakti creates a new dream Jiva and a dream world, and simultaneously covers the awaker and his world. So it's going to conceal the awaker, make the awaker disappear, make the awakening world, the physical material world to disappear, and then simultaneously the awaker and the dreamer and the dream world comes into play. The dream Jiva is referred to as new in the verse to indicate that the dream Jiva is not aware that he was awaker. It's a newborn Jiva. We can put in those ways. It's a newborn Jiva, but it's born every time, every night, every day, many times. So it's indicated as a new dream Jiva. To make a point here that he's not aware that he was the awaker before. Thus, both the awakened Jiva world and the dream Jiva world are my own projections in two layers. Okay, so we project the dream world. That we have no doubts about. Who does project the dream world? The Vyavaharika Jiva. But then, in order for us to say that, but I also project my Jiva world, my Pratibhasika world. So in order to say that I project my Pratibhasika, my Vyavaharika, my waking world, awakening physical material universe, I need to position myself as Paramartha, okay? So the whole understand and all these parallels of this analogy with the dream state and the dream world and the reality or no reality of that is relevant in the sense that from the standpoint of the awaker, that dreamer and the dream world is non-existent. From the standpoint of Brahman, the awaker and the awakening state and the awakening universe, the physical material, is non-existent, but it's all a question of standpointing, angle, okay, reference. You need to be standing in Brahman consciousness as consciousness to see this reality is a projection, or taking the parallel of our dreams in the night as like a dream, okay? A dream is a projection. A projection is made by this Maya Shakti, referred to Nidra Shakti, that projects the contents of my mental, my load of vasanas and so on. So the same way, when I stand in consciousness as consciousness, and then I can see that the awaker was dreamt somehow, not by me as consciousness, by Maya, okay? Maya is the one who keeps doing this play, superimpose, Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat, in me consciousness, okay? So this is the relevant, but it's all depends on our standing point. We need to stand in consciousness, and then we know that everything is happening within me due to a certain power referred by the scriptures, Maya power, that I have no clue how Maya does that, because it's so brilliant, it's so beautiful, and cause so much experience, and therefore we say it's beautiful and intelligent. Sometimes you see James saying perverted ignorance. You understand why makes things so difficult for us here, no? Okay, let's stop here. I'm a little bit low today. We begin from verse 39, but I'm open to further discussions or questions right now. So the dream world, we know that it's happening within the mind of the Jiva. The Jiva is there and he's identified with its mind, reflect consciousness in the dream state. And then it's happening there. It's happening within the mind. And we have no doubt that it was all in my mind. And then when we sighted of that state, we still experience this world, this physical material universe in my mind, because we can resolve the world, gradually into the mind. There are some teachings that proves that location of the world, the location of object, you can just go by and you see everything happens within my mind. And they say, okay, if everything happens in my mind, and I'm going to dream a different world, physical, vyavaharika here, because it's happening in my mind. I'm going to dream. Let me make an effort here. I'm going to project a very beautiful, loving, fair, just universe where everybody lives in peace. So we don't have that power. But still, it's happening within us. Within our mind, but we don't have the power. It's happening in my mind, but I cannot really do much about that. Even in the dream state, it happens in my mind, comes off my mind, but I don't have much say in that. Okay, Ishvara does that. Likewise here, Maya, Ishvara is going to project this word. Although I have a certain degree of involvement because I supply my actions, my vasanas into the field. But the point to be made here is that although this universe is all happening within the mind, okay? So, and then what we need to do? We need to understand that the mind is easily resolved in consciousness. So therefore, the entire world is happening within I, this witnessing conscious, Brahman, this witnessing conscious existence. Everything is happening within me. But then I need to know what this me is referred, what it means. It's me. Everything is happening in me. And the scriptures say that from time to time I do that, or I allow Maya to do that, through its power, Maya Shakti, okay? But those are very subtle speculations or teachings that we can never really, have a clear understanding of why Maya does that and how Maya does that. But it's important to know that there is a certain understanding of my true fundamental free nature, the witnessing conscious, non-experiencing conscious, which is not an entity, which is an entity, but it's not an experiencing entity. And once I know my true nature, and then this power of mind, of Maya, projecting this universe that many times is so disturbing, okay, does not affect me as before, If it affects slightly. Therefore, I can handle it, and knowing that it's beyond my control, but I am free because I'm Satya, and the world is Mithya. Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Namaste.
Thank you, Arlindo.
We meet next Monday.
Thank you. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Mm.